Are you ready to learn about the all-in-one rig that can do everything you're going to need in your career and grow with you till you're ready to move on? Well, if that sounds interesting to you, let's have a think on that.
Hello and welcome to the 145 Rural Podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. Today I have a very special guest, this box, and all of this stuff you see out laid in front of me here. And today we're talking about putting together the ultimate live rig that can do everything, that will grow with you until you get up to those bigger shows. It can't play the stadium shows, it can't do all that, but it's still going to have a use going forward, even when you get to those biggest of big shows. So let's get right into it. If you haven't watched the episode before this, it was all about how to put a band together. And then I told you at the end of that one, this one here was going to be that second part to that if you couldn't get a band together, you can go out and recruit a live band using this here. And we'll get into how that works. Before we do all that, if you find any of this useful, if you can use any of this, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. It really helps out. We're trying to grow the channel. We're trying to get more stuff out there for everybody. So please, that always helps. Really appreciated. Let's get right into it. So again, like everything we do, there's a PDF below. There's images, everything. As we go deep into this, we start putting together what all the items in this do. There is a goal sheet for you that I've created that you can just color in as you're putting this together. So it's got all the items right there. And below we have all the links to every item you would need. Of course, if you need to purchase any of these and you use those links, those are our affiliate links that'll help out the channel. So that's always appreciated. But there's also a PDF at that Patreon site, which of course, everything's always free. Just go download it. Don't have to sign up for anything. Just go pick it up. Get that. And like I said, you can fill this out. And the best part about that is it took a little bit of extra time and it was able to prioritize these lists. So from the very bottom of the list, moving up on the goal list, everything that you pick up will help your career grow and make you a better live musician and help you put on a better show moving forward with each piece of gear. And so then as you're growing, as you're getting the money, as you're saving up and getting these pieces to put it together, you're also still getting better. You're learning to use the equipment. It's enhancing what you do. And we'll talk about all of that. So let's move right into the first item, the very bottom, at the very beginning. And of course, on this list, as far as pricing goes and buying your first item, this is the most expensive item. So, of course, the best thing you can do, and just a hint back to another video, we'll link it right here if you're watching YouTube, or we'll put it in the show notes for anybody listening on the podcast. We have that how to buy used gear and get the best prices. Utilize that, use it. But here we're going to talk about that first piece of gear, the Persona 16R. It's a rack unit, but this thing is the hub of everything. It's able to do everything that you need. It's very versatile. It can do so many things. I believe you can see it right down here. And of course, we'll have an image up on the screen if you're watching this on the YouTube. But of course, it's going to be the most expensive item. They had a sale going for a while. We get one for $900, I think $899 new. And so that made the used market kind of fluctuate down a bit, which was great. I believe I picked mine up for about $700, which is great. I mean, for such a useful and versatile item and for what it's going to do for you. Yes, it's a huge upfront investment especially for if you're newer to being a musician or a band. But let's talk about what it can do and why it's the most important and what it's going to do for you going forward. The Persona 16R, of course, is just a mixer. So it works that it has 16 inputs. So your whole band or you can put everything into there. You know, your microphone for your vocals, your guitars, all those kind of things. If you have a band, all your instruments can go in there, your keyboards, your synths, drums, all the microphones for all that stuff, your bass player, everything can go right directly into that. And that's fantastic. So it's just a mixer. That's fantastic. On top of that, this thing does the in-ear monitor thing where it can also use 6 out ports. It has 6 ports in the back that are aux outputs, and you can use those as in-ear monitoring, so they'll have their own individual feedback or inputs that you get to select exactly what's going on with those. And you could say, I just want more vocals, less drums, a little more guitar, more bass, all those kind of things. You get to do your own personal inner mix, and that works fantastic. So beyond that, it does many more things. It's very capable. Presonus is a great company that is so great about updating everything they have, making sure it works. It's always updating when it does. So it's never like you lose something as it grows out of being a relevant piece of gear, as it becomes a legacy piece of gear. Not a problem. This grows with you. So it's the first piece for a reason, because as you're playing your live shows, you can use this for every single show, your solo shows, your live shows. And the next piece of gear that we're going to move up right next on top of that, and I have it right here in front, and of course there'll be an image up on the screen there, and that is the X-Vive wireless in-ear monitor system. Now here you can use any wireless monitor system or in-ear monitor system. It doesn't matter. This is just one that, for instance, is super easy to use. It's just plug and play, plug it in the back, and then it can walk right. It works at great distances. I've used it for shows. I've seen many other people use them. It's fantastic. But with those 2 pieces of gear, you're now able to set up your live show, and you can either run out your mains at the back. You're just the 2 right and left mains. And then you can send that to the front of the house or to the PA system, whatever it is. And then you can also use these as an in-ear monitor system. So when you're singing, you can have that in your ear. You can hear yourself singing. I promise, if you've never used one before, it's going to change the game. And if you have, you know exactly how valuable that is. So just in those 2 items, you're already moving forward in your career, and everything is really starting to help you put that together. Now, the next 2 things that I put on the list, I happen to have here again on the table here, but the nice thing about that is as you're putting this list together, you might be able to just instantly mark these off, fill in the little goal section there right away, because this is just a Wi-Fi router and an iPad or some kind of tablet. I suggest an iPad, but of course, like, everybody has their own thing. If you got a tablet that works, that's great. And the important part about this is you get to put this connected to your now main box, your Presonus 16R. That connects to that and lets you work with things wirelessly. So now that when you want to set up your system and you're setting up as a PA system or whatever it is, you get to set all the levels for everything wirelessly using your tablet, or you can use your phone for that too. It also works as your in-ear monitor system, because it gives you a control with an app that Presonus gives you for free, where you can sit there and control exactly, like we said, how much you want of every little input coming in. And then also, it has this great little function where you turn it onto its side. It's called the Wheel of Me. And you could just, whatever you selected, and you move that up and down, it just turns them up a little less or a little more. So you can hear yourself a little better, or hear the band behind you or whatever's playing right behind you. And that little thing makes such a huge difference. So now we're talking about, we have this full setup for a live show. Everything is working together. It's enhancing your show. You have all these options now. You're able to hear yourself as you play. And the other thing that we have right above that is just a Lightning to USB adapter. I do believe I have, right here for a visual reference. But it's just this little thing here, and it'll be on the screen as well. But it's just, all it does is it take the USB 2.0 in the back there, and the USB-B, and turns it into, you can plug your iPad directly into your Presonus 16R, and then you're able to do all the stuff there, and it works fantastic. The next one we want to talk about right after that is, at this point, you're starting to get some pretty good gear. You've made some pretty sizable investments at this point, so you're probably anywhere from $800 to $1,000, $1,100, and so that's no small investment. That's a good instrument, and so what we need to do is start protecting it and also making it easier to get around, and that's where this case comes in. And I love this case, and I have a link below, and I'm going to give you some good news and some bad news. The company I found it from is just fantastic. This case itself was just like, I believe $140, $150 with shipping, which is just fantastic. It's a 7-unit case, so that means it can hold up to 7 different 1-unit space things like that. The PreSonus 16R is a 1-unit thing. This thing up top here is, I believe, 2 or 3 units, but you can see the difference. But it can hold up to 7 different things. But the other great thing about it is it has wheels because, of course, it becomes heavy. And we're talking about playing shows on the regular. Having wheels and a handle for that is fantastic. So that was a must for me. This has that there. It has rack mounting units in both the front and the back. So as you expand, if you need to do more, say if you don't want to use the wireless system I've showed you and you want to use the rack mounted versions for you and your band, the 16R can be mounted in the back and you can have everything connect to that. And you can use the front for that. So, I mean, it just gives you so much versatility, so many different options. And now the bad news I wanted to say about is that when I bought this, we looked at it for a while, and I had my wife who was helping me, who's very good at this kind of stuff and was very smart about, you need to buy that right away. And it did. And there was about 150 of them that were available. And last one I went to go with the links for this show here. Again, everything's linked down below that you can go buy. This thing they were down to about 8. So I'm hoping that they restock those. If not, there are many, many options out there. But you need to get a case that's going to protect those and be able to put everything together so it's all in one place. The idea is that you want to be able to roll in, just plug in and go. I mean, the easier you can make setup, the easier you can make tear down. Your life just becomes so much easier. And the other great thing about this, of course, there's a front and back latching panels, which are just super fantastic. So you can lock it. You can make sure everything's safe as you're traveling. Of course, my hint that you should probably take is just make sure that you're spending a good amount of time organizing your cables in the back. Make sure everything's latched down. Get some Velcro or some dual locking tape that they have, that Velcro dual locking tape from 3M. Highly recommend that. It's great for pedal boards too. But make sure everything's organized and tied down, not floating around as you're moving. And the other thing that I found out, just a little extra bonus if you're able to get one of these, is that it has a nice little pouch in the front, like a zip-up mesh pouch that just goes along the front of that hard lid there, and you can use that to store additional items, which I've used for moving cables and such like that. It was just a bonus they didn't have to put in, especially at that price point, but it's such a win. But case is the next thing, and start putting things together, start getting things organized in that manner.
Hi there, and welcome to the ad break. We're just going to take a moment to let everybody know about our community of growing members, and if you'd like to be a part of that, just look at the info below and there will be a click there for an email sign up to join in and get your voice heard. As well, if you're enjoying this content, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/145rural. There you can join any of our groups, and you can add to the discussion of what topics we will choose that will help you and hopefully future members of our groups, as well as join monthly Q&As and other such benefits. Again, that's patreon.com/145rural, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, back to that regularly scheduled episode, and enjoy that content. Thanks again.
The next thing we want to talk about, we've got an amazing live rig that we can use for, of course, putting out a live show. And the thing about using the PreSonus 16R that we didn't even touch upon is that it is also a recording interface. So it's an audio interface as well, so you can record live shows. So at the same time that you're able to do your recording, we also can do live shows, but you got to be able to put your show out. You got to be able to make the sounds. So that's what this big thing up front here is. And this is just a power amp. And this is a 3,000 watt power amp. You can use any power amp you want. You just got to make sure that it's able to make enough sound for what you're doing. It's just fantastic. You just put your, go from the back where the mains, it says your mains left and right out, go directly into that. And then you can run that to any of your speakers. You can do, on the ground, you can do your live wedges on the bottom. But I mean, now that you have an in-ear monitor system, you don't need wedges. So it's just great if you have to do solo shows, smaller shows, you know, up to a couple hundred that you're playing for, you could have those speakers, just bring them with you. And this thing takes care of being a live system. The only caveat I want to throw out there with that one is that we are going to talk about putting a power supply in this thing, so it's easy to plug in. I would suggest never using your power amp to plug into your power supply, it should always be its separate plug-in. It should always have a separate dedicated outlet for itself, just because depending on how loud you're going to make something and how it's putting out sound, it's going to be drawing a lot of power. So just, it's best if you have another protection built in for that. Just a little caveat to think of. Next thing I want to talk about here is a huge one, and one that I absolutely love that this thing does once you add it in. So we've gone from, we had our live mixer, the Persona 16R, and that lets us do live sound. Also does recording, as we were talking about. We'll get more into that. We got the PA system now, since it can amplify itself and go out to large speakers and put out a large amount of sound for any kind of show. And then we add in the Track Rig 8 from, I think it's Loop Community. And these things are just fantastic. And the idea behind these is that you can now do your own backing track. And that's what we were talking about with being able to go out and promote yourself and recruit using this. When we were talking about in the episode before this, that you use all those systems that we know of, you recruit using, social media, going to Facebook, Craigslist, finding ways, talking to other musicians, networking, and try to do that. But there's a lot of us that are trying to recruit a band or get other people to work with you, and maybe people just don't understand the concept until they hear it. And being able to use backing tracks, whatever you feel about them, whether they're good or bad, sometimes you're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to bite the bullet and use them. I know a lot of great bands that use backing tracks, and it enhances their sound, makes them bigger. But if you're anti that, that's fine. You don't have to do this. But having that option is fantastic. And the great part about this Track Rig 8 from Community Loop is it also is an audio interface. So it builds a little bit of redundancy into your system, which is fantastic. You always want to have backups for whatever you can do. So with the Track Rig, as you can see, I've just got it jumping down here into the Persona 16R, and it can do the bass for me, any kind of bass I've done, any kind of drums, keys, backing vocals, all those kind of things. If I want to go out and play a full show and show what I can do, if I've written music that way that I want people to hear that, or I want to do cover songs with all of the band behind me, you can use this to do that. It's such a simple system. There's a great app for your iPad called Stage Tracks 3, and that you can just put your stems in there from your songs, and it just plays them, and you can go ahead and just do that. And with your in-ear monitor system that you now have, it also has you can put a click in there so that you can hear the timing of the song. You can put cues, those kind of things. I'm going to link below to a guy that's much smarter about this, and his channel. If you aren't following it, you should. His name is Scott, and he is the master of putting together live backing tracks, using live equipment. His reviews are just top notch. Please go listen to him. He's amazing. But I'll link that below. But that's exactly where you're going to be able to use this as a backing tracks and all that kind of thing. And then, of course, just above that, at the second line down here, we'll talk about the power supply, and that's just something that you can plug in. I like to have one that has the switches up front. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you have something, everything can be plugged in and it's ready to go. Being able to individually flip things off just in case something happens where you have to kill something, turn it off. It's fantastic. But just find something. A rack-mounted power system is a fantastic tool to have. But make sure that's all taken care of, plugged in. Everything's all plugged into that. The next thing on the goal list here we have is a chocolate MIDI controller. It's called the Chocolate MVAVE, M-V-A-V-E, and it's just a Bluetooth controller. So basically it just connects to anything with Bluetooth and you're able to control it with MIDI. So the great thing about this, it's really cheap for what it is. Usually, before I was able to find this one, you're spending about $100, $200 on a Bluetooth controller, but that'll connect to your iPad. And if you're using, like I said, using these backing tracks, those kind of things, you're able to use it as something that will flip between the songs. It will play and start the songs. You can program the Stage Tracks app in your iPad to do anything. I just happen to have mine just to do that, to start and stop songs and go to the next one, whatever it may be. That way, when I'm playing a live show, I'm not sitting there playing with an iPad, which to me, I try my best not to do or have on stage. Some people, if that's just who you are and you like that, kudos. There's no right way to do this. Whoever tells you there's no right way. If you're out playing live music and you're making music and sharing it with the world, you do you. So, but just for me, it makes it really nice, hands-free, and at the price point, you can't beat it. The next thing beyond that is just an extra long USB-A to USB-B. This one, you just want some good length on that, and that connects from the back of, again, to the 16R to a laptop, and that's why I have a laptop sitting here. And that's what makes it, as we said, we're going to talk more about it being a live recording rig. Presonus gives you free software called Capture, where you can just capture your entire show, but not just the left, right, and the stereo output, which you can do, which is with this thing, just with the there's a micro recorder right in the front. You just put in the disc there, and it records your show from beginning to end, left, right output. That's fantastic. It's great to share with, social media, but you're also, with this, you can also record all the tracks, every track going, all 16 separately, individually. And the great part about that is it's now a live recording rig. So for two things, you can put out live music, an album, you can put out a live track if it was particularly good and the audience was into it and you just were hitting that night. You can make a live track of that to share with everybody. You can make a live album. And the other thing is, part of being a musician or a studio owner or somebody that's in the music industry trying to make money, this thing now can travel to other shows. And if you're not playing that night, you can record the band. And just using this, you're able to record all the tracks. You can go and edit those later and clean them up and do the mixing, do the mastering, get it all together, give them a top quality thing. And if you pair that with a video, now you really got a ton of social media content. You have something to draw in, other people that haven't heard of you before to get the word out. It becomes this amazing tool. And a huge part of that is the very next thing that we're going to talk about. And that's just a channel splitter. But one of the hard parts about this is you're talking about a lot of equipment and a lot of cabling, and the cabling gets very expensive. And that's okay. It's very important. But using this splitter below, this one that I found, and I've linked it below, and it's even better than what I'm showing here. Here I have two of these. It's called ProRec, and I have two of the 8s, and I'm just splitting them out there. But the one that I've linked below has 16 channels, so it's all built in, so it can connect directly to your Persona 16, your interface, which is fantastic because if you look at the back of these things, it has two sets of cables. It has 16 for go directly to your interface, so that way that you can just plug here right in the front. I don't have to worry about going to the front or the back of the interface. It's all just listed right here in that splitter, so I can go directly into that. The other nice thing here is that the second set that it comes with of the 16 goes out and you can go directly to the front of the house. Now, why would that be important? Well, front of the house, if you have somebody that's a dedicated audio engineer that's going to be doing your live sound for you, is a huge thing. And they just want your sound directly. So they can make the best sound for that venue, which they work in, and they know backwards and forwards how it's going to sound good. And you can send that directly to them. But you also already have your version of that. Whatever the inputs are going in is going directly to your audio interface as well, your mixer. And so you get to control your own inner mixes. So that's not controlled by an outside person that has no knowledge of you, your band, your music, your teammates, your whoever. It doesn't matter. They don't know that, and you do. So just that in itself is super useful. And when it comes to being a live recording rig, that's fantastic as well, because you can just step in, have the band or group connect directly to your mixer, to your interface through the front here, and just send that back to the front of the house. You're not touching their inputs. You're not touching any of the sound that they're going to be doing. So you're out of the way, but you're also able to record all of the tracks and get a version of that. And you can charge some good money if you can find the right band and get pretty good at it. You can get some good money off recording live shows. Now, the only other thing you have to think about with that is just making sure to have a long enough cable. That's why I said I want to you probably want to do about a 25-foot cable that's going to run to your laptop, because that way you can get it way off stage. You can be off out of the way. Just make sure you're out of the way as much as possible, and you don't want to interfere with what's going on. You just want to be there to get it. So again, this thing does all of that. And the very last thing is just the cables. There's going to be cables you're going to have to pick up no matter what it is. And in front here, I've linked to these short ones. They're a little bit harder to find, but they're through Amazon. So pick those up. It comes in a 4-pack, and they're great from just jumping, 1 inch, 2 inches. They're fantastic. Any other cabling, if you need any specialty cables, down below, we have a link to a special place that makes cables right here where we live, and some of the best guitar cables you were ever going to find. But they also do specialty stuff. They'll do to order if you need something very special. They're Rattlesnake Cable Company. Make sure if you need any cables at all, links below, get a hold of them. I've seen them build some of the most amazing, niche cables for people. And if you just need a standard cables, patch cables, stuff for your pedal board, it's the best place to go. Just click that below. It's all there. So that's a breakdown of that entire rig and all of the items. If you have any questions or running into headaches, please just get a hold of us. And again, that guy below that I've linked, Scott, I think Scott Ewell, he's a great resource too. I was able to reach out to him and talk to him a couple times about problems I had, coming to trying to put this together. And he got right back to me within 24 hours. Just a great guy, super useful. Go watch his channel, subscribe to his stuff. But again, this whole thing, as you grow, it's going to be your in-ear monitor system. It's going to be a live recording rig for you. It's going to be your mixer. It's going to be your PA system. I mean, what isn't it going to do? It's literally going to take care of everything you need. So make sure to go through that. Use what we've given you. Just get a hold of us if you need anything. Again, give us a like and subscribe. If this has helped you at all, if you're able to get this together, let us know. Show us pictures. It's always great to show off the gear you put together. In the end, it's about $2,500. It's a pretty good investment. But like I said, if you're doing it over time, just playing a couple shows in here, buying it piece by piece, it really does take about 6 months or so just to get it all together. But best of luck to you. I hope it works out for you. And then we'll see you guys on that next one. Bye.